Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Do you want me to start over?
Just say what the topic is today.
Okay. So today I'm going to be talking about all my favorite varieties. And so first, I'm going to be talking about some of the heirlooms that are more the purple-black heirlooms. And most of them are from different parts of Europe. So some of my favorites. So one of my first favorites that I always talk about is a variety called Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye. So I love Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye. It's another good slicer, good producer, indeterminate. So love Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye. Another one, I love Black from Tula. Black from Tula is a really good slicer. That's one of my favorites. Japanese Black Trifle. This is a good one. A little bit more meaty tomato. Really, really good. What else we have? I love Black Crim. Black Crim is another really good one that I love. Let's see if we can find, I put in Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson is a really good one too. I don't know where I put it. Oh yeah, here you go. Paul Robeson is another really good one. One of my favorite purple blacks. Cherokee Purple. It's a really good variety. It's a little later, but I really go more for the Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye because it's smaller and more prolific. And so what else? Even some of the cherries. I'll go through the cherries later, but I like the purple blacks. And so that's some of the purple blacks I brought out. Yeah, so Black Crim. Oh, here goes another one with indigo cherry drops. That's a good one. That's more of like a red, more of a purple, a little bit more of a fruity flavor, but good variety, good flavor. We can go through some of the yellow green varieties. And so I love Cherokee Green. I'm going to put some of the ones down I talked about. So Cherokee Green is another really good one that I like. More of a green version of Cherokee Purple. Garden Fresh Salsa. This is a really good one. So this is basically a gold Roma tomato. That one I really like. Hillbilly Potato Leaf. Another really good large slicer that's more multiple colored. Sort of like a Hawaiian pineapple or pineapple, but I like the Hillbilly Potato Leaves because they're a little smaller and I get more production out of them. So that's a good one. Green Zebra. Green Zebra is one of my favorite smaller green tomatoes. You always let it ripen to more of a yellowy green. Very good flavor all around. Lemon Boy. Lemon Boy is another one that I like. Good mid-season slicer. Not that big, but an old burpee variety. Good one. Big Rainbow. One of my other, so Big Rainbow I like. What do we got? Oh, white. Like now I want to really talk a little about, we don't have a lot of them, but I like some of the white varieties of tomatoes too. Like this is called White Wonder. White Wonder is a big white slicer. They can be very sweet in their flavor. There's a number of whites, so if you guys ever want to get into trying different whites, try White Wonder, Great White. There's a couple other varieties, and then that I like for slicing that are white. And so let's keep on going. I'll talk more about the cherries on this one. Oh, Sweet Tangerine. Sweet Tangerine is another really good gold tomato. So I like Sweet Tangerine. That's another good one. That's one they bring in from Tomato Mania. There's another one that I didn't bring out. I really like Kellogg's Breakfast. So if you guys get into sort of those large orange slicers, Kellogg's Breakfast is a good one. And so I'm gonna bounce around. I'm gonna go through the reds and then the cherry tomatoes. And so down here, well, actually, let's go through some of the sauce tomatoes. So Samorezano is one of my favorite sauce tomatoes. So I like to put multiples in because I want to get a good harvest if I can, or freeze. So I'll put about 4 plants in of the Samorezanos. You just have the standard Roma. I guess the biggest difference between the Samorezanos and the Roma, Samorezanos are more meatier and they're not juicy. So more of a canning tomato, more of a marinara tomato. Romas are going to be more juicy, more of a salsa tomato. So big difference on what you're going to use them for. But I always put in Romas so I can make salsa. And then you got some other little slicers that I really like. Now we're going to shift a little bit into the reds. So I like one that's called Legend. Legend is good for a quick early slicer and salsa. Jet Setter is another good little red. Love those. And then we have some early ones too, like Sasha's Adelaide. That's a really early red, not that big, more golf ball size. And sometimes if you want to do some of the early ones, I grabbed a few early ones. Let's see if I can, like this Siberian. This is a good tomato, but it's a very little tomato, and it's great for containers. Very small little red. Another good red slicer that's more of a bush tomato. The difference between some of the bush and the vine, the bush varieties will only grow really little, 3-4 feet. They are considered determinate. So determinants will only grow to a certain height and start pushing out fruit. So good determinate varieties, Silets. There's another one called Oregon Spring that I didn't pull. That's a good bush one. Let's see. And now we'll go, there's another good Japanese one that I like called Reika. Reika is another good red slicer. So that's a good one to grow. And then here we go into all my favorite reds. And some are heirloom, some are hybrid. Like, here's a good one right here. Let's move this back. Here's a good one right here called Carmelo. Carmelos are great for a container, great for the ground. They're very juicy, sort of medium-sized tomato. So do Carmelos if you want good salsa. You have a couple of the varieties that come out of the southern states that I like Arkansas Traveler, another really good red that I love. Bloody Butcher, small red, but for flavor, for a small red, boy, they really pack a punch with their flavor. So two good southern varieties, small, prolific, really prolific. I'm always looking for, when I pick my favorites, two things. I'm looking for flavor and production. I don't want a tomato that's only going to give me a few tomatoes, but I don't get the flavor. So I'm always looking for flavor. So that's a big thing with me. So I got some good larger tomatoes, like Big Zack is a good, really big slicer, 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds. Big Beef is another good, larger slicing red. One of my favorite other varieties that I love, this is one of the first heirlooms that I started growing. This is Brandywine, but this is the pink Brandywine. So there's a lot of different variations of Brandywine, but this is one of the originals that what they consider more of a Sodu strain. Sodu strain has that potato leaf, pink slicer, large tomato. It's a very late season tomato, so you might not get a lot of them, but you'll get flavor out of these. So big 1.5 to 2 pound slicer. But pink Brandywine, that's one of my sort of favorite heirlooms. That was one of the really the first variety I started growing. So that's one of the other ones I like. And you got more reds too, like Delicious is another hybrid, really good slicer, really prolific variety. Let's see what else we have. Let's go through more of those. And then you have some of the later varieties, like you have like German Johnson, and then you have Mortgage Lifter, and some of the really late heirlooms that are really good too. And what else do we? Yeah, I got Madame Marmona is a good one too that I like. It can vary on the size. It can be a 1/2 pound to about 2.5 pounds, so it can really vary on size. But good flavor too, very pleated tomato. And here's Mortgage Lifter back here, Delicious. And so that's pretty, that ties up some of the reds. Now I'm gonna go into some of the dwarfs and the cherries. So here's a really good grape tomato that I love. It's a red grape called Juliet. Juliets are such good producers. So always put Juliets in for a good little salad tomato. Black cherry. Black cherry is one that I like for the flavor. Some of the black cherries have more of a richer, sweeter flavor, a little bit more complex. Let's see if I can find one of my favorite. Yeah, one of my favorite cherries that I always will grow. It's the Sun Gold cherry. Sun Gold cherry is an orange cherry tomato that's a hybrid out of Japan. This is one of the top cherry tomatoes for the production, for the flavor. Everywhere I've grown it, container, ground, anywhere in Southern California, this is one of the top ones for the flavor and for the production. Shimmer is a really good one too. Shimmer is like a little more of a larger grape tomato, what are like an artisan type of tomato, but another good one that's more of a purple black that I like. Let's see. I'm not going into the dwarfs yet. Oh, here's another one. Here's a white cherry tomato called Snow White Cherry or Snow White Ivory. These are a little bit larger for a cherry tomato, and they're thin skinned, but they're very productive and very sweet. So flavor is good on those. Let's see what we got back here. Oh, we got more We got Sun Cherry Extra Sweet. This is one of my other favorite reds. I like the Sun Cherry Extra Sweet because I get sweetness. Sometimes people will go with Sweet 100s and Sweet Millions, but one thing I find with those older cherry varieties, they're more tangier. I like more of that sweet flavor, so that's why sometimes when people ask, oh, where are your Sweet 100s? I'll go more for a Sun Cherry Extra Sweet because I just like that sweetness more. And that's a good one. Oh, yeah, you have current, like this is a cousin to a tomato. I'm like kicking plants. This is called Spoon. Spoon is a good one. Spoon, you get these little tiny fruit that's the size of a pea, and they have a crunchiness to them, but I love Spoon. So this is the red currant. I'm growing a white one this year, and so we'll see how the white one goes. I'm trialing that, and so really good. So that's the cherries. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the dwarfs. And so I sort of tinker with the dwarfs. I don't really plant a lot of them, but I always like Tasmanian Chocolate. So this is a new dwarf to me. So this is the first year I'm going to grow it. So this one I'm going to be trialing this year. And the ultra dwarfs will only get 2 to 3 feet. And usually cherry size or a little bit bigger than a cherry. But this is more of one of the purple, black, little bit larger, like small fruited tomatoes. But one that I am going to try. I've heard a lot of good reviews about it. Saucy Mary is a new one that I'm going to try. That's more of a green sort of sauce tomato. So another little dwarf that's going to be new that I'm going to trial. You have Little Sicily is a good one. Little Sicily is a really small tomato, very good production, another ultra dwarf. So get out and tinker with some of those dwarfs. I'm going to be experimenting with them to see what flavor they have, see what production, and just see how they grow through the summer. Because all these tomatoes that we grow have different growth habits, different flavor, different ripening, different maturity dates. So that's one thing I always like to plant a lot of my varieties and really tinker with some of the differences and see some of the differences, because out of all the tomatoes we have, there are a lot of variations with them. And that pretty much ties up a lot of my varieties that I like, and these are the favorites that I grow. There's a couple new ones. So yeah, so that's so if you guys have any questions,
Yeah, we do. The first question is, what are some recommendations for canning and sauce tomatoes?
Okay, so they're asking, what are good recommendations for a canning variety or sauce variety? There's a few of them that I'm out of, but some of my favorite canning varieties. There's one from Burpee called Gladiator. Gladiator is a good one. There is another heirloom called Italian Heirloom. That's a good one. There's another heirloom called Amish Paste. That's a good one. So I guess the difference with some of the varieties, when you get into the canning varieties, they're going to be very meaty and less juicy. So they're not really fresh eating varieties. So you have Hungarian Heart. There's a variety that I'm going to probably bring in called Amos Coley. Samorezano is probably the top one, but one thing to think about too, when you're canning, plant more than one plant. With Samorezanos, I might put in 4 or 5 plants. With Gladiator, I'll probably put in 3. So double up or triple up your plants and go with them, and I'll put them close together so I know which variety they are, but definitely those large, meatier varieties. And there's a lot of different varieties of them too. There's Samorezano, Ridordo. There's little smaller, like what's that one? I always forget. There's Ponzano. There's so many variations, but I do like some of those bigger sauce tomatoes, because then I don't have to have so many little. So I'm always going for more, a quarter of a pound, a half a pound, a pound. So I want those big meaty varieties. Like there's one that's more of a French tomato that they grow in Italy called Cordobu. Cordobu is really good. There's red pilliform, so there's some good varieties, but if you always check with us, because I know some of them we ran out of, and we'll get more back in, but definitely do more than one, do a couple of them, and the bigger ones is what I like. Any more questions?
Yes. What is the sweetest cherry tomato that you would recommend?
That's an easy one. I know there's a lot of argument between what's the sweetest cherry. They rate them on what they call bricks, which is the sugar levels. I think it's sweet Sun Gold Cherry. I think that's one of the sweetest. I've heard arguments of Sun Sugar and then even like Sun Cherry Extra Sweet. My sweetest is sun gold cherry.
Okay. If I only get 4 hours of sun at the moment, is it better to wait a month or so to plant my tomatoes?
She's asking if you only get 4 hours of sun. You really need a lot of sun with tomatoes, so I would wait. I always want between 6 to 8 hours, so I really want full sun. It's okay if it gets a little shade in the morning, but I want that 11 in the morning to sundown. I want a lot of sun because that helps the plant grow. It helps it flower, helps it set fruit, ripen fruit. So you need that heat for overall for the plant, because if you put them in too much shade, sometimes you might get mildew, like you might get some of the fungal problems like mildew, you might get early blight, so you'll have more trouble. So with putting them in with sun exposure, always full sun, 6 to 8 hours.
Okay. Last question. What is a good recommendation tomato for pasta sauce?
See, then we're back into like some of the cooking varieties, you know. So one thing you have to look at for pasta sauce, I'm always going, sometimes I'll even go with some of the little ones that are more juicier. Like I might go Legend, I might go Jet Set if I want juicier. The plum tomatoes too, like the bigger sauce tomatoes like Cordoba or Italian Heirloom. Those are two, and then maybe even Gladiator. Because what I do a lot that nobody talks about when I cook, sometimes I'll cut them in half and I'll put them in the sauce and I'll cook them down and I'll scoop the pulp out of the skins and then I'll get rid of the skin. So you don't have to spend time blanching them and skinning them, but I literally will cook them down. I'll cut them in half and cook them into the sauce, into the water. Yeah.
Okay, that seems to be all the questions for today. Thank you, David.
Okay, cool. So David Rizzo with Rogers Gardens, thank you for joining me today. And if you have any questions about the varieties, come in and see me. I'm here all the time with Tomato Mania. And so with this week, I'll be here. I'm off today and tomorrow, but I'll be here Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, thank you for joining me today.